Shri Guru Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raganatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sayatam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Deva Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadu Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Namo Brahmana Devaya Go Brahmana Hitayata Jagadataya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Muse Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Krishabhanu Sutadevi Prananami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Trubasta Kripa Sindhuva Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare
Krishna,
Hare Hare
Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare.
Prabhupada.
Jai. Prabhuji, today we are reading from the first canto, chapter 15, text 11. Should we read the text, or how do you want us to go about it, Prabhuji?
Yes, please read it.
Okay. I can try. It's a long one, so let me just try. Yo no jugopa vanayete durantakash krichra durvashori richard ayuta grabogya sakarna sistam payujaya tastriloki tripta mamamsta salile vinimagna sangha. Hare Krishna.
Very good.
All right. The translation. This is a long part, but Prabhuji, maybe we could split with anyone else who'd like to volunteer.
Yes. You can take turns.
We can take turns, yes, Prabhuji. Translation. During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. And by accepting food thus, the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed, and all the three worlds were all satisfied. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Vijay.
Durvasa Muni is a powerful mystic Brahmana, determined to observe the principles of religion with great vows and under strict austerities. His name is associated with many historical events, and it appears that the great mystic could be both easily satisfied and easily annoyed, like Lord Shiva. When he was satisfied, he could do tremendous good to the servitor, but if he was dissatisfied, he could bring about the greatest calamity. Kumari Kunti, at her father's house, used to minister all kinds of services to all great Brahmanas, and being satisfied with her good reception, Durvasa Muni benedicted her with the power to call any demigod she desired. It is understood that he was a plenary incarnation of Lord Shiva, and thus he could be either easily satisfied or annoyed. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and by Lord Shiva's order, he accepted the priesthood of King Shvetaketu because of the king's performance of sacrifice for 100 years. Sometimes he used to visit the parliamentary assembly of the heavenly kingdom of Indra Deva. He could travel in space with his great mystic powers, and it is understood that he traveled a great distance through space, even up to Vaikuntha planets beyond material space. He traveled all these long distances within 1 year during his quarrel with King Ambarisha, the great devotee and emperor of the world. Would anyone else like to continue? Okay, I'll read the next one. He had about 10,000 disciples, and whenever he visited, he became a guest of the great Kshatriya kings. He used to be accompanied by a number of followers. Once he visited the house of Duryodhan, the enemy cousin of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Sorry. Duryodhan was intelligent enough to satisfy the Brahmana by all means, and by great rishis, and the great rishis wanted to give some benediction to Duryodhan. Duryodhan knew his mystic powers, and he knew also that the mystic Brahmana, if dissatisfied, could cause some havoc, and thus he designed to engage the Brahmana to show his wrath upon his enemy cousins, the Pandavas. When the Rishi wanted to award some benediction to Duryodhan, the latter wished that he should visit the house of Maharaja Yudhishthira, who was the eldest and the chief among all his cousins. And by his cousins, the Pandavas. Okay, well, when the Rishi wanted to award some benediction to Duryodhan, the latter wished he should visit the house of Maharaj Duryodhan, Yudhishthira, who was the eldest and chief among all his cousins. But by his request, he would go to him after he had finished his meals with his queen, Draupadi. Duryodhan knew that after Draupadi's dinner, it would be impossible for Maharaj Yudhishthira to receive such a large number of Brahmana guests, and thus the Rishi would be annoyed and would create some trouble for his cousin Maharaj Yudhishthira. That was the plan of Duryodhan. Durvasha Muni agreed to this proposal, and he approached the king in exile according to the plan of Duryodhan after the king and Draupadi had finished their meals. Hare Krishna. Would anyone
Someone
like
else
to
can read?
read? Just mute. I'll continue, Prabhuji. It's okay. On his arrival at the door of Maharaj Yudhishthira, he was at once well received, and the king requested him to finish his noontime religious rites in the river. For by that time, the foodstuff would be prepared. Durvasha Muni, along with his large number of disciples. Sorry, Prabhuji, I have to mute the participant. Durvasha Muni, along with his large number of disciples, went to take a bath in the river, and Maharaj Yudhishthira was in great anxiety about the guests. As long as Draupadi had not taken her meals, food could be served to any number of guests. But the rishis, by the plan of Duryodhan, reached there after Draupadi had finished her meals. When the devotees are put into difficulty.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I can help you just with this two paragraphs. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. When the devotees are put into difficulty, they have an opportunity to recollect the Lord with rapt attention. So Draupadi was thinking of Lord Krishna in that dangerous position, and the all-pervading Lord could at once know the dangerous position of his devotees. He therefore came there on the scene and asked Draupadi to give whatever food she might have in her stock. On her being so requested by the Lord, Draupadi was sorrowful because the Supreme Lord asked her for some food and she was unable to supply it at that time. She said to the Lord that the mysterious dish which she had received from the sun god could supply any amount of food if she herself had not eaten. But on that day she had already taken her meals and thus they were in danger. By expressing her difficulties, she began to cry before the Lord as only a woman will do in such a position. The Lord, however, asked Draupadi to bring up the cooking pots to see if there was any particle of foodstuff left. And on Draupadi's doing so, the Lord found some particle of vegetables sticking to the pot. The Lord at once picked it up and ate it. After doing so, the Lord asked Draupadi to call for her guests, the company of Durvash. Bhima was sent to call for them from the river. Bhima said, "Why are you delaying, sirs? Come on, the food is ready for you." But the Brahmanas, because of Lord Krishna's accepting a little particle of food, felt sumptuously fed. even while they were in the water. They thought that since Maharaj Yudhishthira must have prepared many valuable dishes for them, and since they were not hungry and could not eat, the king would feel very, very sorry. So it was better not to go there. Thus they decided to go away. This incident proves that the Lord is the greatest mystic, and therefore he is known as Yogeshwara. Another instruction is that every householder must offer food to the Lord, and the result will be that everyone, even a company of guests numbering 10,000, will be satisfied because of the Lord's being satisfied. That is the way of devotional service. Hare Krishna.
So I'll pick up from here. I offer my respects to all the assembled devotees. Thank you for having me in your association. So we are continuing our hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15. And today's text is number 11. We're continuing to hear Arjuna speak about their relationship with Lord Krishna, with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was expressing heartfelt appreciation for Krishna, how in so many different circumstances they were rescued from very dangerous situations. In this particular verse, it's describing how, as part of the ongoing effort to get rid of them, Duryodhana and the Kuru brothers, they arranged to have Durvas Muni, who was a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva, to come and visit to have food. And they arranged it so that the great sage would arrive after they had cooked. Draupadi had a magic special cooking pot that would produce all needed food, but only once a day. She had received this benediction from Suryadev, the sun god. So Duryodhana was planning. Duryodhana had many plans. As we may remember, Duryodhana planned for them to be killed in the burning house of lacquer, of wax, and he attempted to poison Bhima. And here he has another plan. So many plans. And it seems like a good plan. But Krishna is more intelligent than anyone, and he can do anything. And he is the close friend of the Pandavas. So Duryodhana's plan failed by the arrangement of Lord Krishna. Many, many times Krishna did this by unexpected maneuvers. So there was another instance before the battle of Kurukshetra when Duryodhana and Arjuna went to Dwarka to request Lord Krishna's help, and he was sleeping. So Duryodhana thought that he would sit by near the head of the bed, so Lord Krishna would see him first. But Lord Krishna arranged it so he saw Arjuna first, and Duryodhana said he thought that if he could have the armies of Krishna, then he would win the battle. So that's what he asked for. And Arjuna, he asked just for Krishna to be present, even though Lord Krishna had promised that he would not fight. So that doesn't seem like a good choice. You're going to fight a big battle, and your opponent asks for the help of a huge army. And you ask for the help of what seems to be just one person to drive your chariot. So that doesn't look very good. But things aren't what they seem. And that's one of the points of this purport and something for us to remember, which may be hard because Krishna, Atashi Krishna, Namadi, Krishna is a parashaya. He is beyond our vision. Krishna is transcendental. We are also transcendental, but we are embodied. But Krishna always exists. Sat Chidananda Vigraha. Krishna always exists in his eternal spiritual body. And we cannot see him with these eyes. And it may be difficult for us to always feel or know that Krishna is with us. And that is natural. But we can be reminded that actually he is. And as time goes on in our life, we will experience that he is present. He does hear our prayers. He does understand our situation. And if we are patient, especially in the modern civilization, we are becoming, for many years, very conditioned to everything quickly, right? We have the cell phones. We want to talk to someone. We can speak with someone instantly. We text someone, they text us back instantly. And we get upset if someone doesn't text us back right away or in an hour. But many years ago, there were no cell phones. And even before then, there were no telephones. People would, if you wanted to ask someone a question in the UK, then you would send a letter. And it would take weeks. It would take many days for the letter to get to London and many days for the letter to get back. It'd take a while. There's no quick communication. So we are very used to things happening quickly. So really, actually, Krishna, he acts quickly, but it may seem to take a long time to us. Now, think about that. Time is eternal. Time is, there's no, we are eternal, Krishna is eternal, existence is eternal. If we want something and it doesn't happen for 1,000 years, it's actually instantly. It's true. If you compare 1,000 years to eternity, it is instant. What to speak of 10 years? Or even forget that, say 1,000 years. Out of 1,000 years, how long is 1 year? It's not very long. So we, in our relationship with Krishna, we have to have patience and confidence that Krishna understands our situation and he will help us quickly. But it may take a few days, may take a few weeks, which seems like a long time, but actually it's not. And the way that Krishna will help us, usually, for most of us, he's not going to, we should not expect that he is going to come with his peacock feather and stand in front of us and help us. But he will make some arrangement, just like it is described here, because Krishna, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam, Ruddesha Dunatistati, Krishna is within the heart of everyone. Krishna is the super consciousness everywhere. And he can, and he does, and he can arrange anything. Krishna can arrange anything. So here, understanding the situation of the Pandavas and Dravas Muni coming to eat, he's arranging it that he asked Draupadi that what is really the difficulty, and she explains, and then she offers him just one little grain of rice, and because he's satisfied with her devotion, everyone becomes satisfied, especially Durvas Muni and his disciple, and they feel so satisfied, they're not hungry anymore. So that was his trick. That was his trick. Or when we have some situation and we offer prayers that, oh Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please help me. Then somehow or other, the help will come. The information, usually Krishna helps us by sending information, somehow or other, some information that we can use to help. Or from within our own heart, Krishna can give uh, mental strength, even physical strength to uh, to overcome difficult. Now, so someone may ask that, well, what's this? What is this? That's really brilliant. God is there, but his devotees are having difficulties. What is the use of being a devotee if there are difficulties? So, that's a good question. Here, if the Pandavas are such good friends of Krishna, then why are they being harassed by Duryodhana? Why were they? I mean, think about having to go to the woods, live out in the forest for 13 years, or to leave your regular home and go different places to live for 13 years. That's a horrible thing, to become homeless. That's what happened. They became homeless. Can you imagine? You have to leave your flat tomorrow morning and you don't know where you're going. Maybe you're going to go to some park and sleep on the grass, and then the next night, maybe you'll go somewhere else, somewhere else. That's a hard way to live, especially if you have been living in a very comfortable flat for a long time. So that is God's kindness. Uh, but the thing is, uh, who are we? Who are we? Who are we? And what really can we expect? Yes, we are devotees right now, but what were we doing 10 years ago or 5 lifetimes ago? What were we doing? Right? We think about that. We don't just have one life. Think about where we were in our previous life and the life before that. So, yes, we are devotees, uh, but we have a history of previous sins. And so Krishna is helping us to become sinless, and he is helping us not to experience as much suffering as we might experience. And that is kindness. Now, you may say, well, the Pandavas, what sins did they do? They are incarnations of demigods, partial incarnations of demigods. So what's happening with that? Uh, so that is explained. There is good reason for that. Just like we are talking about them right now, aren't we? There's practically no one people talk about from 5,000 years ago, but they definitely talk about the Pandavas. They talk about Arjuna. They even talk about Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra and Karna. They're famous. They are so very, very famous, the Pandavas, and their uh, their life right now, today, right? Today, for you and for me, they are giving us inspiration. They are giving us an example. And so there must be an example to be followed. And so Krishna's pure devotees, they allow themselves to be used. They understand that this is part of some uh, good scheme. There is ultimately some good benefit. It is for Krishna's purpose. And so they go along with it. And even though, I mean, although they certainly experience troubles, uh, we can know for sure that their experience of the suffering was not as bitter as it might be for an ordinary person. That's the other thing. Uh, yes, it was challenging, and certainly they felt bad and even pain, but not as sharply or bitterly as uh, someone might think, because they are pure devotees of Krishna. And Krishna from within the heart gives wisdom and gives transcendental strength to uh, to pass through these circumstances. Just like is described about Haridas Thakur in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. So he was being beaten very badly with canes by the Muslim soldiers. It was he should have died. But it's described that Lord Chaitanya took virtually every bit of the suffering of Haridas Thakur. So it looked horrible, and it wasn't fun. But it wasn't the same experience as it might be for an ordinary non-devotee. So that's good to know. And also for us, to the extent that we surrender to Krishna, we surrender to his instructions, the instructions of the spiritual master, then we also won't experience the difficulties of life as much as we could. And there has to be difficulties. This isn't the spiritual world. We are in this material world, and we are here because of our past mistakes. And Krishna is so very kind to help us pass through it. So instead of criticizing Krishna, that why don't you make everything like walking on pillows at every step? I'm your devotee, we are devotees. Instead, the devotee is conscious. The devotee is conscious of who they are and so they are grateful that I'm so grateful that you are leading me out of this suffering to a place of no suffering. Thank you very much. And if I'm having some difficulty, that's not your fault, that's my fault. It's just like if someone is in the prison, it's not the warden's fault. It's not the security officer's fault that they can't go outside, they can't go to the movies, they can't go to restaurants, they can't go outside and do what they want to do. It's not their fault. It's the prisoner's fault. And actually, well, at least in many prisons, there is a system of rehabilitation and there's opportunities to not come back. So they should be grateful instead of complaining. Why am I locked up? Why can't I do this? Why can't I have good food? Because you don't deserve it. That's why. And you're so fortunate that at least you're in a place where you have an opportunity to study something for a job and improve yourself, get counseling to get rid of your criminal tendencies. So you should be happy for that. So this is our thinking. This is the thinking of a devotee, not complaining, but being appreciative. Krishna is always kind, and he's always good, and he's always helping us somehow or other. So is any discussions or comments up to this point about what we've talked about or anything? Anything?
Maybe not, Prabhuji. You can just continue.
Yes. So why doesn't someone read the next Sanskrit text and translation, and we'll go to the next purport. You did good with the other verse. Why don't you do it again?
We'll try, Prabhuji. Yateta sata bhagavan yude sulapane Vishma pita svagrijo Stritam adanijam me anyepi chaham amunaiva kaleva rina prapto mahendra bhavane mahad asradan asannardam. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Would someone like to read the translation?
Prahlad Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Maybe you'd like to read the translation?
Maybe he can't hear me.
I'm not prepared, and if it's on the screen, I can read it from the screen, if that's okay.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry,
Mataji. Sorry, we have not shared screen.
never is next to.
Yeah, could read the translation, Prabhuji.
All right, I'll read the translation.
Thank
It was
you.
by his influence only that in the fight I was able to astonish the personality of God, Lord Shiva, and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. Thus he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me, and in addition, I was able to reach the heavenly planets in his present body and was allowed a half elevated seat. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. By the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, including Lord Shiva, were pleased with Arjuna. The idea is that one who is favored by Lord Shiva or any other demigod may not necessarily be favored by the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Ravana was certainly a great devotee of Lord Shiva, but he could not be saved from the wrath of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra. And there are many instances like that in the histories of the Puranas. But here is an instance where we can see that Lord Shiva became pleased even in the fight with Arjuna. The devotees of the Supreme Lord know how to respect the demigods, but the devotees of the demigods sometimes foolishly think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is no greater than the demigods. By such a conception, one becomes an offender and ultimately meets with the same end as Ravana and others. The instances described by Arjuna concerning his friendly dealings with Lord Sri Krishna are instructive for all who may be convinced by the lessons that one can achieve all favors simply by pleasing the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and that the devotees or worshippers of the demigods can achieve only partial benefits, which are also perishable, just as the demigods themselves are. So who would like to read the rest of the purport?
Hare
Anyone?
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Did you stop at another significance? So I can
Yes.
read.
Yes.
Okay.
Another.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Another significance of the present verse is that Arjuna, by the grace of Lord Krishna, was able to reach the heavenly planet, even with this self-same body, and was honored by the heavenly demigod Indra there. Being seated with him half elevated, one can reach the heavenly planets by the pious acts recommended in the Shastras in the category of fruitive activities. And is stated in the Bhagavad Gita 9.21, when the reaction of such pious acts are spent, the enjoyer is again degraded to this earthly planet. The moon is also on the level with the heavenly planets, and only person who have performed virtues, only performing sacrifices, giving charity, and undergoing severe austerities can be allowed to enter into the heavenly planets after the duration of life of the body. Arjuna was allowed to enter into the heavenly planet in the self-same bodies simply by the grace of the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible to do so. The present attempts to enter into the heavenly planets by the modern scientists will certainly prove futile because such scientists are not on the level of Arjuna. They are ordinary human beings without any assets of sacrifice, charity, or austerities. The material body is influenced by the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. The present population is more or less influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance, and the symptoms for such influence are exhibited in their becoming very lusty and greedy. Such degraded fellows can hardly approach the higher planetary system. Above the heavenly planets, there are many other planets also, which only those who are influenced by the goodness can reach. In heavenly and other planets within the universe, the inhabitants are all highly intelligent, many more times than the human beings, and they are all pious in the higher and highest mode of goodness. They are all devotees of the Lord, and although their goodness is not unadulterated, still they are known as demigods, possessing the maximum amount of good qualities, possibly within the material world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Does anyone have any questions, having heard the purport about the demigods and worship of Krishna? So Arjuna is continuing to express his appreciation for Krishna. And the point is being made here is that just because one is a devotee of a demigod or anyone, doesn't mean that one is necessarily a devotee of Krishna or pleasing to Krishna. And it's entirely possible to be a devotee of someone and make offenses to Krishna. This is not difficult to understand. For us, just like in the country, there is the prime minister, and then there are ministers of the health and ministers of the defense, minister of social services, and minister of education. There's different ministers in the government, department heads. So you could be friendly with the minister of education, but that doesn't mean necessarily that you're friendly to the prime minister. So people who worship different demigods, they may be very devoted, but it's not necessarily that they're pleasing to Krishna. And that is just a matter of education. So many things we learn. We learn how to read, we learn how to write, we learn how to count money, we learn how to walk, drive a car. So another thing is how the government of the universe works. There is a universal government, and it works in a certain way, and some people are more familiar and some people are not. Just like I studied, and this is true in other continents, other parts of the world, but I was reading how in Africa, there is many groups and many tribes, and they worship so many different village spirits and village entities, other beings, and something that many people who don't know is that actually there are many tribes in Africa that do accept that there's one supreme being, which is beyond others. Although in their everyday life, they may pray to the, or worship, offer respect to the spirit of the river, or the spirit of the crops, or the spirit of the rain. There is acceptance that there is one supreme being that's beyond all others. So some people know this and some people don't. Also in other places, South America, India, in India, there is such an organized system of worship, demigods. People are devoted right? So Lord Shiva, Durga, Ganesh, Chandi, Kali, Lord Vishnu, many different personalities. And sometimes that's all they know. That's all they've learned about, and that's the habit that they have of doing the Shiva Puja regularly and with devotion, and they're very devoted, and or to Durga Ma or Ganesh or Hanuman, right? And they just may not be familiar. They just they haven't learned very much that beyond the demigods, there is a supreme personality, or they are, or as is often taught, especially in Hinduism, is that everything, everyone, we're all the same. Everything is God. Everyone is good. Lord Brahma is God. Ganesh is God. Shiva is God. Everyone is God. You're God. I'm God. Which really is ridiculous if you think about it. I mean, it sounds nice, but that doesn't make any sense. You don't have millions of prime ministers running around. That's ridiculous. That's yeah, it's ridiculous. But of course, we are part of God. I mean, it's not that that's entirely mistaken. We are. Everything is God's energy. This is the difference, which we can try to explain to someone. And a simple example is the cow. You know, the cow gives milk, and if we're holding a cup of milk, we don't have a 500-pound cow in our hand, do we? We have milk. Now that milk is the cow, in a sense. It's the energy of the cow, and it has come from the cow, but it's not the cow. And the same thing is the sun. When the sunlight comes into our house, it is the sun. Without the sun, there could not be sunlight. It is part of the sun, but it's not the sun. If the sun was in your flat, the whole thing would burn up. So this is called simultaneous oneness and difference. So we can agree, we can say, yes, everything is God in the sense that it is God's energy. It's not he himself, just like the milk is not the cow exactly. It is the energy of the cow. It's not a difficult thing, but some people don't want to accept it, or they may not be able to think about it. But anyway, it seems to me a very simple thing. So yes, everything is God because everything is the energy of God. Maya idam titam sarvyam jagadavyakta murti. Aham savasya prabhava mata savam pravartate. Krishna says, everything has come from me. Sarvam kal vidam Brahma. Everything is God. That's a very famous uh, from Hinduism. Sarvam kal vidam Brahma. But what it means is that everything is the energy of Brahman. So the simple thing. So the demigods, Lord Shiva, the others, they are they're not God directly. They're very powerful, powerful beings, and they do and they can give benedictions. They can also curse and cause problems to someone who offends them. So here, Srila Prabhupada in the purport describes about going to the heavenly planets. We can go there. Anyone can go there. If someone, see, that's the fortunate thing about being a devotee of God or a theist, someone who accepts the scripture. If we accept the scripture, then there are many opportunities available to us. And if we're so unfortunate that we reject them, it's like cutting off our own fingers, we lose many opportunities. So by being devoted to the demigod, a particular demigod, and developing good character, one can go to the higher planets. Just like one could collect a lot of money and go on some fancy vacation to some islands somewhere and have a very beautiful environment and good food and everything. So, but the point is about that is that it's not eternal. It's not eternal. Uh, we can go to some fancy place for a vacation, but it's not. It doesn't last forever. We should want to go to a place where we don't have to come back. Why take so much trouble to work and save money, and then you go on a vacation to some place, and then you come back? It'd be good if you could just stay there, right? So that is Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness or Krishna bhakti, we are going on a permanent vacation. We're going to a beautiful place where there is no suffering forever. So that sounds good to me. And it takes some effort, like going anywhere. And it is by devotion to Krishna, not by devotion to Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva or Ganesh or Durga Ma. But the thing is, we should pay respect. It's not that we should be neglectful. We should be very respectful to everyone. Certainly, Ma Durga and Ganesh, and Lord Shiva, we should offer our respects if the occasion is there. And the best way to please them is to sing Krishna Kirtan. You want the blessings of Ganeshji? Then chant some Krishna bhajan for him. Yeah, that's true. Of course, we should ask that, may I please do better in my Krishna consciousness? Will you please help me to be free of obstacles to my devotional service? If we're going to ask anything, we can ask for help in our service to Krishna. So some questions or discussion about this?
Prabhuji, I'm just thinking that yes, we are supposed to offer a lot of respect to the demigods, okay, to actually all individuals. Now, what to speak of the demigods. But also, I'm thinking that is that the reason as to why it's so difficult to preach to the individuals who believe in the demigods? Like, I find it to be very, very kind of difficult to preach about Krishna consciousness.
I missed your question. What was that?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I'm just thinking about the demigods, yeah, and how the demigods are revered so much. They're worshipped, especially in India. And is that the reason as to why it's so difficult to preach about Krishna consciousness? Because, well, Krishna is the absolute truth. And, well, I don't know,
Yeah,
just recently we've had an incident in Kenya, Prabhuji, like recently there's a cult that was formed, and people are in search of the absolute truth. They join in that cult and they're getting killed and all that. People are in search of the absolute truth. Yeah. So why is it so hard for the people who are fortunate to be born there not take up this process?
Yeah, it takes intelligence. Srila Prabhupada said that. It takes a sharp brain. And we know that although we all have two legs and two arms, we all have different capacities of thinking. So, that develops life after life. Lord Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanamate, Gyanabamam Prapadyante, Vasudevam Savamiti, Sa Mahatma Sudurvapa. And that it takes time. It takes some lifetimes, perhaps, to accumulate wisdom and to want to want higher wisdom. And so people are at different stages. Some persons are not involved in any cult and not worshiping anything, and they're just atheists. And other people are devoted to video games, and that's all they do is video games all day. And some are devoted to some cult, and according to their past activities and their desire, people are doing what they want to do. People do what they choose to do, and all we can do is give the opportunity. And if it's time for them to take advantage, they will. And if not, they won't. Generally speaking, this world is not the place for very many Krishna bhaktas. That's the reality. At least Krishna bhaktas who are actively uh, doing puja and chanting bhajan and things. This world, this Kali Yuga, we should say that this Kali Yuga, we should not expect too much. We should be amazed that there are the number of devotees that there are. Truly, this age of Kali is it's a dark time of human life, and so that so we should be realistic and have proper expectation about what we can expect about there's all so much ignorance, and there will be ignorance. And that's about it. So we associate with like-minded devotees and go back to Godhead. That's the best we can do, unfortunately. I mean, we wish. I mean, it would be wonderful if we could have whole soccer stadiums full of people chanting kirtan. Wouldn't that be wonderful? A whole, 30,000 people. Or in the UK, you get 80,000 people in a cricket stadium or something. It's wow. But it's just, that sannyasi, what Indradumna Swami, he has occasionally these huge festivals in Europe, and thousands of people come and at least see it, So that's some thoughts I have about it. Yeah, people are doing what they want to do, and they're very used to it. They're very used to it. So people get used to doing things, thinking in a certain way. It's hard to change. But again, we can think about eternity. Even in this life, maybe they come to the temple once, or they talk to a devotee once, or maybe a few times, or whatever it is. You have a friend who knows you're a devotee, and maybe they say some good things. But then in their next life, they'll be more advanced. It's a long process. So we shouldn't lose heart.
Yeah. Prabhuji, it is a long process. Like I was saying, I don't know whether you got that. In Kenya, there's news, that there's a certain cult that is, bringing people, and they're getting killed, Prabhuji, and these innocent people are in search of the absolute truth. It's very unfortunate seeing this. I don't know. They are getting killed, Prabhuji.
Why do people? I in my life, I have heard of at least a dozen people who they were in the hospital with cancer, and they're still smoking. So why? Why do people do that? Why do people go the wrong direction? It is due to their past sins. They may have put someone else. See, the thing is, they may have put someone else in ignorance, and so now in this life, they can't understand the truth. It's not for no reason. There's a reason why a light bulb doesn't go off in their head. Why do people cross the street and they don't look left and right and they get hit by a lorry? Because it's their karma. Why? I mean, every other time they look to the left and right, and then one time they don't and they get hit. So it's just meant to be. Why people? There's so many tribes in the depths of Amazon jungles and Australia, who never see devotees. So, it's meant to be, don't do that. Don't be like that. You should be awake. You should stay awake and make the right decision,
Right.
not stupid. It's very sad. No, we should feel very sad about it. Is that the one where they're finding 60, 70 bodies in graves? Or is that another part of Africa?
Yeah.
I was hearing some cult,
Yes,
they're
yes,
finding
Prabhuji. Yeah. It's
dead,
very sad.
dead bodies. Yeah, many, many years ago, I don't know if you know, 1971 something, in South America, there was a cult. 900 people drank cyanide. 900
Mm.
people in Guyana. They were part of a cult, and they drank some juice that had cyanide in it. And they thought they were going in the right direction. So crazy things happen. Why 60 people? 900 bodies they found. Crazy stuff.
Right. Yeah. We do sure thank Krishna that maybe we have taken the first step. So hopefully
Yes.
he's taking 1,000 towards us.
Yes, we can, and because we care, we offer some opportunity to others, and then what happens after that is up to them. Even our own family members, it's hard. It can be so hard, but that's the way things are. So we ask Krishna for strength, and he helps us.
Right,
Anyway,
Prabhuji.
yeah.
Thank you. Is there anyone with a question or a comment?
Hare Krishna Mataji. From what you've just said, I just want to say that it just shows how lucky we are that we are in this sampradaya, we are in this ISKCON movement. We are extremely fortunate, and let's not waste the opportunity that we've been given.
Yes.
And do our bhakti diligently, and hopefully we go back.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, and Gandhi, he said that often the best thing you can do for others is to be the example of what you feel others should be doing. We think about helping other people. So the more fixed and steady we become, then that's one of the best ways to help others. That we stay as strong, we become and stay as strong as possible in our practices. It's, just like on an airplane, it may surprise some people that when the oxygen is lost and the masks come down, the mother should put hers on first, not the baby's. So, you're not going to help the baby? No, if I don't help myself, I can't help my baby. So it is proper selfishness.
Hare Krishna.
Does that make sense?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Sometimes devotees, let me go save everyone, help everyone. And we should, but make sure we spend enough time taking care of ourselves. We don't want to get weak and then we get infected too much. And then we start doing stupid things, right?
Right. Is there any other question or comment? Okay, maybe, yes. Any question or comment? Okay. If not, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful class. It was really nice, and Another thing that I'm taking with me is about it's on the last text about offering. Another instruction is that every householder must offer food to the Lord, and the result will be that everyone, even a company of guests numbering 10,000, will be satisfied because of the Lord's being satisfied. Yeah, that was very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Maybe I would like to ask Avinash Prabhuji, if you'd like to end the session, to close the session, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, very nice class and very nice questions from others as well, from Soni Mataji as well. So can we all chant Hare Krishna to glorify Prabhuji, please? So I'll start. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavanebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Dina Sharana Prabhu ki. Thank you, Prabhuji.
All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
All glories to Shri Guru.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Have a
Hare
safe, good
Krishna.
week.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, everyone. Dear devotees, same time tomorrow. Continuation. Hare Krishna. I'll end the session now.